Once. Welcome to the Scoop World Order. Happy Sunday. I hope you guys had a great day. Great football going on today in the NFL. Huge 2-week stretch for Ohio State. Is this the biggest 2-week regular season stretch that you can remember? It is for me. I'm excited to see what these Indiana Hoosiers can bring to the horseshoe. Going to watch some tape tonight. Jim Knowles is getting spicy on defense. A lot of pressure, a lot of exotic looks. Ran a corner blitz on the first play of the game, which I don't think I've ever seen before. But hey, we're bringing it from everywhere. And again, that's to make a statement to Indiana and our future opponents that this is not going to be for the faint of heart down the stretch, because he's bringing the heat. Sonny Styles, I thought, played great. Maybe his best game as a Buckeye. Statistically, it was for sure. So we're going to get into what Sonny is doing now, how he's been basically enlisted to be an attack robot, and he's been really good at it. And he got a couple sacks. They're featuring him in pressure. So really, really good stuff. So we're going to get into that. As always, if you guys enjoy our content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. Again, we appreciate you guys each and every night for kicking it with us. Again, you guys are growing the show like crazy. If you want to help us out, something that is really easy to do is follow us on Apple Podcasts along with Spotify. It's actually signed up a bunch of people last night. I was watching the UFC fight at Twin Peaks, had a great time. And people were signing up left and right for our show. They're asking what I was doing, because I was sitting there editing and doing some work while I was sitting there, and people were like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm just working on the show a little bit," and people signed up for it, and it was super easy to do. It took 2 clicks on their phone, and they helped us out. So again, we appreciate all of you guys that are doing that. So again, Apple Podcasts and Spotify are completely free. It's a great way to help us out, and we appreciate you guys. I hope you guys had a great day. This is going to be a huge week for Ohio State football. Going to bring in my good friend Nevadabuck. Nevada, nice win yesterday. Again, I rewatched it again. Some really exciting stuff on defense. Obviously stuff that's probably granular and people don't notice in real time. But we're getting after them pretty good on defense. Offensively, love what we're doing. I love that we featured Carnell. That was pretty predictable. We were kind of hammering that with the stuff that we knew about the game plan going into the game. It helps us prop bet, so that's kind of cool. But Nevada, your thoughts after a second rewatch and a day of NFL football?
Well, first of all, yeah, Sonny Styles was really good, really good. And I've been on Sonny. I have been on Sonny, hoping that his athleticism, starts to equate production, and he's starting to figure it out. Starting to play better, attacking inside out, reading stuff better, getting to the spots a lot quicker, and that's a really good sign for the OSU defense. Offensively, when you watch the game, I watched the game 3 times. Carson Hinzman just jumps off the screen. How in the world this guy was not playing from day one is one of life's great mysteries, because he is so good. And I don't understand. I just, it's completely mystifying me. I know he was behind the 8 ball a little bit with that hand, foot, and mad cow disease or whatever the heck that was during fall camp. But boy, they really caught a break here getting him on the field, because he is definitely the heart and soul and the heartbeat of that offensive line. And the more I watched him, yesterday, I didn't even realize it in real time how good he was. But in the rewatch, man, he was really, really super good, and super fun to watch, because he's just such a great kid. He's such a great kid, and a kid that waited his time. Just about anybody else in the world would have transferred out, but he stuck it out, and sure glad he did. But hey, it was one of those games that you mentioned in the run up. I don't remember ever. I mean, I don't know. Has there ever been like a top 5 matchup before the Michigan game? Like, I'm trying to think about ever in my 6 decades on the earth, if that's ever happened. I can't remember it ever happening. So this is our 3rd top 5 matchup in 6 games. That's another kind of little stat for you there. And for all you people that are statistics watchers, and we've played 2 top 5 teams on the road already this year, and I can't remember the last time that's happened either. So lots of history being made with this OSU team. Big game for Ohio State. It feels like a big game week. The players feel it. The staff feels it. I think it's going to be just an epic ball game on Saturday. And I'm talking about from an epic performance. I think this is the week that Ohio State puts it all together and puts it out there on the field. It just feels that way. I feel like I've seen this before. I feel like Ohio State's getting ready to come out with a really good performance. And I'd be shocked if we didn't really show out and do that on Saturday.
Yeah, I think when you look at kind of the direction of the team with the defense and how aggressive we're playing now, it's going to culminate this week. I think that these guys are really excited. And then it's going to be an explosion versus Michigan because Ryan is not going to hold anything back at all. We're going to run Will Howard. Every formation will be let loose. But this is like, and I was going to ask you this because again, this isn't like not trying to be funny, but like you're much older than I am. So you followed Ohio State football by definition for a couple decades longer than I have. So have you ever remembered a bigger 2-game stretch in the season? I can't remember like back to back playing a top 5 team and then Michigan or I mean, even like I just even like from when I played to coach, I just where you've got this huge matchup and then you've got something as big as a Michigan game right after that. I can't think of a time where there wasn't a break or there wasn't a Northwestern afterwards or in between or whatever. Because this is real. I mean, this is a serious 2-week stretch. And Indiana, I think all the pressure's on Indiana. Like, the beauty about being Ryan Day and these kids is like pressure's all on Indiana because I bet my house they're not sure how good they are. They don't know how good they are. They think they're good. And again, I think that their plan will be the same thing as Tom. Again, you go back and watch when we opened at Indiana last year, they took the air out of the ball. We ran like 50 plays on offense. It was like, low scoring, and they were good defensively. I mean, they were physical, and Tom Allen did a great job on defense. And I'm sure there's a part of him that's like rooting for these kids. There's a part of him that's like, man, I was close to getting into that thing. Now this guy, Kirk Barton went in and got he got some transfers to come in, but they weren't huge, major solid. I mean, he brought a bunch of guys from James Madison with him, and they're playing really well. Again, they've got the D lineman. He's got a ton of sacks, but I think that this is has there been a stretch in your lifetime that you can remember where there's 2 games back to back like this? And I'm not talking playoffs. I'm not talking Big Ten title, because obviously you guys say, well, Kirk, we played in the playoffs, we played Big Ten championship. Because again, this 3-game stretch before the playoffs is going to be epic if we end up seeing Oregon again. But your thoughts, because I can't think of a time where in the regular season with the schedule with no championship game where we've had 2 back-to-back games like a top 5 team, and Michigan, and let alone having them both at home. That's really unique. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, it'd be a little bit different if Michigan was really good this year. I mean, considering the fact that Michigan's really bad, I mean, what we really have is a top 5 opponent, and then a team that we're going to be favored by 21 points against in Michigan. But no, it's special. And as you mentioned, when you followed up the week after with a rematch against number 1, it's an interesting 3 games. If you're a fan of Ohio State football and you're like, well, I'm not going to cheer until the big games. Well, let me tell you what, the big games are here because it's top 5 Michigan and then number 1. So, everything from here is just huge. And I always worry. I've watched Ohio State for a long time, and I'm a big believer in letdowns. I believe there's only so much emotional juice that you have to kind of get up week after week after week. So, I guess this is a better question for you as the ex-player, the All-American, the coach. How do you? I mean, how does a team manage that where you got to be up this week? You got to be up this week, and then the Michigan game, senior tackle and, everything that comes with that. And then you play number 1 the week after that. I mean, I think we're facing a unique set of challenges that, that Oregon isn't. Oregon's not playing 3 games like this in a row. Mm-hmm. I mean, are you worried about letdown or running dry a little bit on the emotional gas tank?
Well, I don't think so, because this is like, I don't want to be corny and say this is what you train for, but like, this is like a 3-week sprint, where it's like, if everything's in front of you, you control your own destiny, then life's amazing. And again, like there would be a part of me, like if I was a player on this team, that would really want to just smack these guys, because eventually, like when you're Godzilla, and Ohio State is Godzilla in the Big Ten, and all of a sudden there's some small, new animal that comes out of the ocean to fight you, and you've never heard of them, you've never seen them before, and frankly, they've never had pressure like our guys have. Our players and our coaches have to live in a constant state of being around a fan base that can be miserable. There are some people that are completely miserable no matter what, that are Ohio State fans. And it's grating, but if you're great and you're really, a diehard Ohio State historian, kind of like I am, then you embrace it. You say, okay, this is the standard. The standard is win every game, don't give up any points, score 70 points, whatever. But this is a time where I would want to take out that fury on Indiana. Because Indiana's, they have the most Johnny-come-lately fan base of all time. Because I bet half their fans had never even been to an Indiana football game until this year. So now all of a sudden they're all excited in their top 5, and I'm sure they're going to try to come over to Columbus. And they're going to try to, not that it's going to matter against us, because our fans aren't going to give up top 5 tickets. But I don't know, man. I mean, because it's not like, if you want to talk about Kirk, okay, you get to set the table for how do we maximize motivation. Okay, well, Indiana's a top 5 team. Didn't play great against them last year. Their coach is talking a lot of crap. I didn't swear there. I caught myself, so you guys should be proud of me. I did not swear there. But I mean, he showed up on day 1 and said Ohio State sucks and Michigan sucks, and again, like that's to play to the crowd and to gas the folks up and get the donors excited. And wow, we got a guy who's going to go thumb his nose at Godzilla. But eventually Godzilla's got to unleash the heat. He's got to burn fire out of the nostrils and burn the city down, because that's what we got to do this weekend versus Indiana. Then you have Michigan, who, again, when I'm talking about setting the table for motivation, like this is like motivational greatness right here. Because then you have Michigan, who stole 3 games from us, stole the Heisman from CJ Stroud, cost us a lot of awards. Ryan Day's been beaten to death by our fan base the last 3 years for losing to Michigan. Got Kerry Combs fired. I mean, guys lost their jobs. Got Greg Suwara fired. Cost us a ton. Those Michigan games, and again, they've got to bask and be excited and have the fun, post game field storming celebrations, whatever. Embarrass us in the horseshoe 2 years ago, whatever. All while cheating, which they're going to get caught and absolutely smoked for. So the guys are going to be gassed up for that. And then your third one is you play Oregon, who beat you this year, and they're the number 1 team, and they've had it kind of on easy street ever since they beat us. Because, and again, I don't know if you guys are paying attention, but Wisconsin, who stinks and isn't any good and just fired their offensive coordinator today, almost beat them last night. So again, like if you're picking horses that are trending, like we're looking like Secretariat right now, because this team's about to explode. And again, we're healthy. Obviously the Josh Simmons thing was terrible, but other than that, we're in great shape. And we've injected Carson Hinzman into our veins. And again, it was a crime against humanity. And I said it leading up to it. I said, Nevada, I don't know if there's a single team in this country that has a guy who started 12 games as a freshman, who's not even in the like the top 9 on the O-line the following year. Like I said, Tigra's the same age as Carson. Tigra didn't play in a single game. I mean, he played backup mop-up time last year, but all of a sudden he's ordained as the starter. Austin Seyerveld's in there. Zen, who's a great kid, he's in there. Carson is like, he's like holding the bench up. They put Luke Montgomery in, and then finally they put Carson in, and he's been our best lineman since he's been a starter. And honestly, it's not even close. He's been physical, and he plays with an energy that's contagious to the rest of the team. So again, because when someone steals something from you, like again, this coaching staff stole his playing time, because he should have been playing. He should have probably been starting at right guard over Tigra, but they stole it from him. They had him sit. They made him pay a penance for whatever, to make a point or just to be stupid. And then they put him in there. And Carson, he doesn't sulk. He doesn't cry. He goes out there and he's just been absolutely whipping guys. Like Carson, I always talk about on the O-line, you got to have a chain gang mentality. You got to tough, no nonsense. And again, I love Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly will be, there isn't a person on this earth that we can make offensive coordinator that I'll like more than Chip Kelly for the rest of my life. But he said, those guys go shopping at, Tractor Supply Company for their clothes, and because it's the difference. Like offensive linemen usually you're wearing basketball shorts and flip flops, and you chew tobacco, and you wear like some Husky t-shirt and whatever. So you're not like a fashionista. You don't need a Louis Vuitton purse or anything like that when you're no lineman. And Carson is that. He's from Wisconsin. He's tough. Got tough folks. And again, I think that's rubbing off on a lot of these guys. And again, Some of these guys need to be tough. I think Josh Fryer's a real tough kid. I think Donnie's tough. So some of these guys need to get a little bit tougher as we get closer. But guys are starting to up their level of play. And again, a guy that I think is really tough that also helps the offense out is Will Howard. I think Will Howard, and again, there's a thread on BuckeyeScoop.com. If you guys are not on BuckeyeScoop.com, again, I know I plug it because it's our site, but you guys are missing the boat because it is so fun and we have so many great conversations. But we were talking about most valuable players. I was like, Will Howard is the most valuable player on this team by 100 miles at this point. Because without him, everything that he does that you see and don't see is just so good. I mean, the kid he's tough, he's personable. He'll do anything to win. And the scary thing is he's getting better. Because again, I listened to all the aardvarks out there that were talking about, oh, well, Will Howard, Kansas State didn't want him. They didn't want him. 50% completion or whatever it was. And I was like, okay, well, let's get him with Ryan Day and Chip Kelly and Jeremiah Smith. It's 80%? No way. Who knew? I guess we did. But everybody else is like, oh, he ain't no good. Like, dude, he won a Big 12 title at Kansas State. That's like winning a Big 10 title at Purdue. You know how hard that is to do when you have to go beat Texas and Oklahoma and teams that have real players, and you have to go beat them with K-State. But he did it. People don't give him no credit, but we did. Nevada, what are your thoughts? Because again, I think that this is I'm never jealous of the current players, whatever. But this is a situation I'd love to have been in, where it's like you've got a team like Indiana coming to the shoe. They think that they're hot stuff. You have a chance to cram it down their throats. Then you get to play a weak Michigan team, and you can hang one on them big. And then you get to roll and see the Oregon Ducks again, who I think are going backwards. What are your thoughts?
Well, first, a little news flash. The Kansas City Chiefs lost their first game, so they will not be going undefeated this year. So the 72 Dolphins record remains intact. But no, you know what I like? What I like is it's kind of a corollary of what you're saying. What I like is we don't have to play another game in front of a hostile crowd the rest of the year. We finish with, all of our road games are behind us. And that's a big thing, man. Because people talk about
whoa. Hang on, I gotta stop you on that. You don't think we're gonna play in front of a hostile crowd the rest of the year?
No.
What about our fans?
No.
Well,
Kirk. Oh man, you need to.
Hey, tell Johnny Carson I'm ready. Johnny Carson, give me my shot. I will write the Tonight Show for Johnny Carson.
Your writers they're working overtime.
The phone comes down from the ceiling and say, Kirk, this is what you should say. There's not a hostile crowd that we're going to see. I was like, well, I've heard our fans. We've gotten booed worse in the Horseshoe this year than we have at some of the games we've gone to. Than we did at Wrigley yesterday.
Well, not an overtly hostile crowd. I was watching the Oregon Wisconsin game last night, and Oregon gets really lucky to get out of there. And my point just on that is winning on the road. I don't care who you're playing against. Winning on the road is hard. It's hard to win on the road, and people want to write off the Northwestern and they're terrible on this and that. Hey man, I don't care who you're playing. Wisconsin's terrible, and Oregon. If it wasn't for a phantom chop block or whatever it was, I think Wisconsin beats them. But I love the fact that we've got all of our road games behind us, and that we finish home game, and then neutral site from here on out. Because Ohio State fans travel well, they'll dominate the Big Ten championship. The Big Ten championship game will be 80% Ohio State fans. That'll be crazy, and I just love the way that the season's setting up. I love the way that now we're as healthy as you could hope to be. You hated losing Josh Simmons, but we've been able to fill that gap. Guys have stepped up. Other guys have gotten valuable playing time. Will Kazmarik's coming back, so we're about as healthy as you could hopefully be at this time of the year, heading into the friendly confines of the Horseshoe. Bringing in the pretender, the young prince who wants to come in and try to take the crown, and I think it's a great matchup. It's a great way to get the Buckeyes razor sharp for the playoffs. This 3-game stretch is going to be wild, man. Top 5, Michigan, #1 team in the country, and that's before the playoff. That's before the college football playoff starts. So there's going to be some high quality football being played here down the stretch, and Jim Knowles and Chip Kelly need to be in their bag the whole time, but I'm confident they will be.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, every time I see that playoff bracket, it's like you almost pinch yourself. I'm like, this is real. We're really going to play a full playoff. Like, there's going to be all these great games because I'm like you, like with the bowl games, like once they put in the 4-team playoff, it's like, do you really care about any of the other games? I mean, you'll watch the Rose Bowl, or the ones that are the non-playoff BCS games, but now it's like they're all real games, and it's just, oh my God. I mean, it's going to be so fun. And Ohio State is literally never going to miss the playoff. So it's going to be like, it's going to be great to be an Ohio State fan. Super excited about it. Let's get into the film study real quick, because I was watching this, and first play of the game, Nevada, your boy, Mr. Knowles, dials up a corner blitz from depth, which is very hard to pick up. So you look right here, and I mean, Davison, normally when you're on a corner blitz, he's up here nosed up on this guy, and it's easy for the tackle to see him. We're running it from depth here. So these guys have no clue that this is coming, because again, normally you're nosed up. He'd be squeezed up to about here, tilted in, ready to go. But from depth, you can't pick that up. So they don't pick it up. And again, Davison, we haven't blitzed him much, so he's a little peculiar here, and he's checking the hand off, but I mean, he has a chance to just absolutely murder this quarterback, but he misses him. Again, it's learning experience for Davison. But your thoughts? Again, this is the first play of the game. We're going to corner blitz on the first play, and again, I'm sure they had him gassed up in pregame because they said, "Hey, if it's on your hash, we're bringing you." And he has a chance to put the quarterback in the hospital, and he gets away from him, which again, learning experience. He's probably going to step up. Your thoughts on that, Nevada?
Well, I think it kind of set a whole tone for the entire game. I mean, if anything, Jim Knowles had to dial back the pressure. When we started to dial it back is when the defense really started to cook, kind of settle down. Because we're introducing these pressure schemes, but we're just not used to doing them in the game. So, we'll generally, you like to attack defense in depth. It's about, a line of defense, and, we're massing troops at the front. And if you get through that front line, man, there's nobody there. And they had a few plays set up. They had a screen pass that Sonny made a great play knocking it down. Otherwise, that's a walk-in TD. And, some other things. So, I think Knowles has got to try to find that sweet spot. They've got to disguise those pressures a little bit better. And when you have the pressures like that, like you said, when you've got your kill shots, whether you're Jack Sawyer or CJ Hicks or Davison or whomever, you got to deliver them, man. You got to deliver them. And that's something that we haven't been particularly adept at this year. And that's why it was nice seeing CJ and Sonny get some sacks there at the end of the game, get those guys kind of get the feeling of getting those quarterbacks down to the ground because you can't be missing from here on out.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, those are the ones that haunt guys like Jack and Davison, because when you get a chance to get a sack and you don't get the guy, and here's next play, bringing it. Again, we are not screwing on second down. The very next play, heating them up again. You got Sonny, you got Cody. This is not a great matchup. When you put Jack Sawyer versus the tight end, great hands by Jack here to shed this guy, get his hands off of him. You see him rip over the top. Great hands. Way too strong. And then Jack, this is what kills Jack, man. When he's got him in the crosshairs and he misses it, then Sonny gets the free sack. Oh my God. This is one to see in your nightmares. But again, the pressure is there, and 2 plays, 2 blitzes. Again, I love it because when you're Jim Knowles and you're Ryan Day and you're playing a team that's vastly, outgunned, you can say, look, we're going to pressure the crap out of these. We're going to put all kinds of stuff on tape. We're going to make Indiana worry about the pressure packages, because that's the kind of stuff that gives offensive linemen nightmares is, a blitz game. If we've got a bunch of, not ultra sophisticated blitzes, but blitzes that are, like when you bring a cornerback from that far back, I mean, that is not a typical look. Because when when a corner's, 5-6 yards off the receiver, you'd never in a million years would think he's coming. He's always in press man when he comes on a corner. But if we bring him from depth like that, you almost have to worry about it on every play. So again, and then here, the very next play, we're heating them up again and making their life uncomfortable. And again, linemen and quarterbacks, they worry about the blitz because the blitz is what can put your quarterback in the hospital. I mean, if you miss a blitz man on a corner and he gets back there and he's running, if Davison, is just if he just corrects his course a little bit, I mean, he's putting that quarterback in the hospital. I mean, Davison's a 4-3 guy. running through that quarterback, man. That ain't fun. So again, I love this because I said all week when you're playing a team that's grossly outmanned, that's when you break tendencies. That's when you can run some crazy exotic stuff. Like a corner from that far back that's crazy, especially on the first play of the game. Like you're not waiting around for anything. You're not trying to study tendencies. Hey, we're gonna run a corner fire on the first play of the game, and I love that because if you're Indiana and you're Michigan and you're Oregon, you're like, these guys are kind of crazy. Now I don't know if we're gonna have the balls to do that against Oregon because with their speed on the edge, but I mean, why not? Throw caution to the wind. And I mean, if that thing gets home, could you imagine Wrigley if Davison connects? Because he's an inch away from connecting and knocking. I mean, that could be a sack fumble on the first play of the game from your corner. And again, that's why you call plays like that. Because when that hits and he hits it right, then the whole stadium is electrified and the sidelines electrified. And that's why I love blitzing. Like I love it because you have a chance to really distress, an offense, an O-line, get them behind the chains. Obviously it comes with a cost, but our guys are good enough to cover. Like when you have Caleb Downs and Lathan are as good of a safety combo as we've ever had. They're playing fantastic football. I mean, Caleb's probably gonna be the best safety that's ever played here. I mean, he's on that trajectory at this point, and that's with apologies to Jack Tatum, who I know played corner here, and Mike Doss and those guys. But Caleb Downs is better than those guys because he can run at a crazy rate, but he just does everything right. He's like a Autobot back there. Nevada, as we'll dig into some super chats to get a little bit more film going. Any other thoughts? Because again, I know that Jim Knowles has detractors and generally the people that aren't very smart, but God, I love this defense right now, and I love the energy, and I love Sonny's coming on now too. It makes this thing really, really terrifying. And a guy that was wrecking shop yesterday that I haven't talked about was Tyleek, because I watch Tyleek every single week, and I'm like, our fan base has no idea how good Tyleek is. But when you watch Tyleek go against some of these guards, I mean, he puts them in the backfield so quick, and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm just glad I don't have to block a guy like that. He reminds me of, he's like a bigger, more explosive version of like Quinn Pitcock. Quinn Pitcock was a mid-round, like a third-round pick to the Colts. I played with Quinn, and Quinn was impossible to move, and he was actually very explosive. But Tyleek's like a first-round version of Quinn. With, like I said, he's just bigger. He's just massive. But he can get off the rock, man, and push guys back. Your thoughts, and we'll dig into some super chats.
Yeah, no, I look, the defense is going to have to do a better job of getting teams off the field on third down. That's been kind of a bugaboo. It's kind of related to the, we've got like three. That's the issue. The problem, the bare problem with that is that we're having trouble getting pressure, only bringing four, and our defensive backs, Davison's been a little handsy, and Denzel. It's just, he's the benefactor of some amazing throws and catches. So, he gets to make the highlight reel every week. But, that stuff tends to even itself out over time. He's putting himself in good positions. But we got to find a way to bring pressure because, too many times when we're bringing pressure, our guys are like running into each other. They're getting caught up on the wall. We've got to find a way to kind of space them out, bring them in there, and then still account for the quarterback in some sort of a meaningful or responsible way. If we can do that, man, this team's going to be really, really hard to beat. But the defense, we're giving up 3 points a game in the second half. We're giving up 10 points a game for the game. We're number one in just about every defensive category you can imagine. And, people say, well, we haven't played. Look, we've played the number one team in the country. We played the number 5 team in the country on the road. I'm not sure what else people are waiting for. Everybody play. My point on the board was, everybody plays some good teams, some bad teams, and some teams in between. That's why you have stats for the season. And so that goes for every team in the country. And I dare say that it's not like we've played the easiest schedule in the world, considering that we played, even if we just took the Oregon and Penn State games being top 5 games on the road, not too many teams have played 2 top 5 teams on the road this year. I don't know if anybody has. And but we have. And despite that, we're still number 1 in the country in defense. So it's a really good defense. That doesn't mean it's a perfect defense. That doesn't mean it can't improve, but it's a really, really good defense. And if we can dial in the blitzing thing and dial in the pressure, this could be a historically good defense. And so I hope we can take that next step this week against Indiana, playing at home where the crowd is going to be into it, and it's going to make it really hard on Indiana to call cadence and communicate. We know what a problem that can be if the Ohio State crowd gets going. It literally makes it almost impossible for the other team to call their offense. If we get that going, get the defense running around, man, things, it could get lopsided this weekend for sure.
Yeah, I think that when you look at everything that's been kind of percolating for the team, I love the direction of this team. I thought that yes, it was great. It is interesting, sometimes Denzel gets picked on because that one throw and catch was a great throw and catch, and sometimes you just got to I don't want to say tip your hat to him, but if someone hits you with a really good scheme, and I'm going to break down a Will Howard throw real quick, then if they get there, then that's just, hey, that's a good call, and we got to have an answer for it. Or like I said, on that one throw and catch, it was good. I'm going to bust this play real quick because your boy Willie Deep Ball, who can't throw a deep ball, throws a pretty good deep ball here, even though it's not a touchdown. But I don't know what else. Will can't catch it too. Nevada, this is a gorgeous throw. Your thoughts? Jesus.
Well, yeah. I here's the thing. I've been watching the NFL all day today. I was just watching the Chiefs, Buffalo game, and I saw a ball that was ruled a catch where the ball clearly hit the ground, but the guy had his arm around it. I just don't know how this isn't a catch.
Yeah.
I mean, he has the ball. I think it looks like his arm's underneath it. He never loses control of it, and
it never moves.
And yet never move. I mean, if it moves, the ball's always going to move a little bit when you hit the ground. You know what I'm saying? Because you are hitting the ground. But I just don't know how that wasn't a touchdown. It was a perfectly thrown ball. Will was dialing it in yesterday on every type of pass, but especially the deep ones. So can we please put that narrative to rest that he can't, please, guys, just give it a rest. Yes, at some point he will miss another deep one, but he can throw it. He threw about 6 yesterday that were all right on the dot. So let's give him a rest on that one.
I got and I want to break this down. This is a great blitz by Northwestern. I'll give them credit on this one. This is tough. So this is a 5-man protection. You get your 5 offensive linemen, 6 because you count Trey in here. So the rule on this is, in general, you want to put Trey on one of the linebackers. So if you're sliding this thing to the left, which we are, then you got your center on this walk-up linebacker. You've got your guard. You got your tackle. They got to stay firm there. And then you've got Tigra and you got Josh Fryer on these two. And that puts Trey on him. So what's something you can do to disrupt this and make this tough to go against is that you can bring the nickel. So that's what these guys do. They bring the edge and they bail him out of here. And so you watch, basically you switch it because you're anticipating if they're going to slide to the short side of the field. Trey's got to get up. He's got to get up in there. And again, there's nothing Trey can do to fix this. This is just a great call by Northwestern, and this is very difficult to go against if you're an offensive line trying to pass protect this. So Trey's got to get up in here and get firm versus this guy, anticipating he's going to blitz. But when he bails, Trey's up in the hole and he comes. Now there's nothing Trey can do at this point. He can't, pivot and try to get back out here. I mean, because he's coming full steam thinking that he's got to beat this guy head on and try not to give up penetration to protect Will's ACLs at this point. So this guy is now hot, which hot means that Will has to throw it before he gets hit. So, when they bring one more guy than you have protecting, then your throw has to beat this last guy. So Will, again, right on time, right before he's about to get stroked. Because again, if he holds this for another second, he's getting killed. But he knows that because he's a great quarterback, drops it in the bucket. And again, that's a 6-man pressure. So, that's a 0. And, when it's 0, guys like Urban want to throw it deep because that you got guys singled up, a guy like JJ singled up there and should be a touchdown. Because again, if a team wants to bring all out pressure, you got to make them pay. You got to throw it over their heads. And with our athletes, it's suicidal to 0 pressure. But if you do, you got to deal with a guy like JJ, one up versus some help. There's no safety help for him if you do that. So again, I thought that was excellent by Will. It should have been a touchdown. I agree with you. I thought it was a touchdown on the field. I don't understand replay. Sometimes I don't think I want to understand replay because it's so inconsistent. It drives me absolutely crazy. But kind of is a system that we deal with. All right, let's dig into some super chats. All right, Goldfish. I like that. Thanks for the 10. Collier County checking in. Let's go. That's where I grew up, Naples, Florida. Without you having a week off, I you like to see dramatic schematic adjustments. You've coached how do you prepare for these yo-yos, Shelby? For one, thank you for checking in from Collier County. I love going down to Collier County. Kim's folks live in Fort Myers, so we get to fly down to Southwest Florida International Airport all the time. Tony T and Connie T also watch the show every night, so appreciate you guys. Love you guys both. But that's awesome. Yeah, and they've got seated tables awesome down there, by the way. I'm sure you've been there before. Great spot. I don't think that IU is going to have dramatic scheme adjustments because you don't, when stuff's been working, you don't want to upset the apple cart and try to do a bunch of things that are totally different when you've been successful. It's kind of like do we outthink ourselves and try to do too much, or do we stick to the plan that's got us here? Like again, if you have something that works really well, like it'd be like if Nevada and I said, you know what, instead of doing Buckeye Scoop and breaking down film and bringing inside information and breaking that Turbo Rogers is going to decommit and flip, which he literally decommitted tonight. He's going to flip to Ohio State. We broke that on Friday. If we said, you know what, let's switch to a cooking show and see if the audience likes it as much. You guys would be like, yeah, we're going to leave in droves. We're done with Cooking Scoop. We want Buckeye Scoop because that's what we're good at. So Indiana's kind of got the same thing where it's like, do you want to change and break a bunch of tendencies, or do you want to be or do you want to be who you are and do what's been successful? And I think that there's a mental thing that comes with that with the players and the coaches, where it's like, the coaches want to drive into these players, hey, that the plan is infallible. That was Urban's favorite thing, is if you just follow our plan, the plan is infallible. We will not lose. That year we went undefeated, he won the national title 2 years later. I think that Kirk Barton believes in what he does, believes in his culture. And I think with his arrogance, he's going to say, let's make Ohio State, adjust to us, not us adjust to Ohio State, which again, that's fine. But again, you haven't seen anything like Ohio State. You haven't seen the talent we've got, the speed that we've got, frankly, the coaching that we have. Because again, I know there are some people that have the greatest lives ever, and I'm sure that they live on a yacht and they've got 70 model wives and whatever, and that's their lives, and it's just that good. But for people like me, like I've never seen anything like a coaching staff that we have right now with Chip Jim Knowles. Because I know there's some people that no matter who we have on this staff or on this team, they hate Will Howard, they hate Jim Knowles, they hate Chip Kelly. Ohio State football is the worst part of their lives. I love it. And I try to pause time and to enjoy every single minute that we have a mastermind like Jim Knowles running the defense, and a great, and maybe the best offensive mind of his generation in Chip Kelly, who again, I always tell you guys, he clinicked with Nick Saban when Saban was in his prime, clinicked with Bill Belichick, clinicked with Urban Meyer. So basically the people that are on the Mount Rushmore of all-time football coaches, at least from the recent era, not going back to Paul Brown, not going back to era Parseghian, but in the recent era, like those guys all want to know why Chip Kelly does what he does and why his scheme is so different and what he sees and his thought process. So like when the smartest guys in history want to learn from Chip Kelly, it gives me pause to believe that I think that he knows what he's doing. And so like I always say, don't take my word for it. It's like with Will Howard. Like when we got Will Howard, who there's some people that just can't get over the fact that Will Howard is actually good. I was like, well, Ryan Day's career is at stake this year. He's got the most loaded team of all time, and they went crazy in the portal, and he had to pick a quarterback that they're going to pay seven figures to run this team, and he picked Will Howard. And guess what? It was one of the greatest coups of all time to get that kid to run, because the kid's been excellent. He's the leader of the team. Everybody loves the kid. He's the mouthpiece of the team. Again, you always notice on Tuesdays when they do the media, they put Ryan's always out there, and then they put either Chip, Jim Knowles, or Will Howard. So it's like a kind of a revolving thing, whatever. But the only player that ever talks on Tuesday is Will Howard. And Will Howard's not a captain. He's only been here since January. But that's what they think of the guy. So again, I enjoy this season immensely. But I think that when you talk about preparing for these guys, you just got to do your thing. I mean, you got to believe in what you believe in. And again, we kind of know what our identity is on offense. We like to be physical. We like to run it early. We like to take shots, play action. We like to stretch these guys out horizontally. But, I don't want to test these guys because I just, Indiana is as great of a story as it is. They haven't played anybody this year. Not a single good team. They haven't played Oregon. They haven't played us. They haven't played Penn State. Michigan is down. If you take the Michigan emblems off the helmets, then all of a sudden they're not Michigan. That's a Rutgers level team right now. They're a middle to bottom tier Big Ten team. If they don't have the Wolverines, and They don't have the same, they've got they got three good players, and the corner's probably going to take the rest of the year off. Their two D tackles are good. That's it. So, again, they haven't seen anybody like us. Not a complete team, both sides of the ball. They beat Michigan, who has the worst quarterbacking in school history, at least since 2008 anyways. So again, I would just do what we do, honestly. Like, and again, I would want to make a statement, because again, if a guy wants, I get the bluster, and Ohio State sucks and Michigan sucks, but I mean, I would remember that. I would remind, hey, this is what this guy thinks of you guys. And this guy, he didn't say this in some secret board of regents meeting or say it to some small. He said this in a basketball arena filled with people, and he knew it would go viral. So again, like, if you want to talk like that, you got to pay your tab now, dude. I mean, you want to go run it like that, that's fine. But the tab's about to be due on Saturday. And again, if I'm Ryan Day, and again, Ryan, he loves to find motivation in basically everything. Again, after the Lou Holtz, I want to know where Lou Holtz is. Well, I want to know where Kirk Barton is right now. He's across the sideline from me. And if Ryan can throw another one in the end zone at the end, good. I hope he does. Because again, this isn't, he's got to let this guy, remind this guy who runs the Big Ten. And it's never been and never will be Indiana. Nevada, your thoughts? Again, Goldfish, appreciate you, my man. Thank you for checking in from Collier County. That makes, I love that. That's so awesome. Do you think that OSU will see dramatic schematic adjustments, Nevada? And is there anything you would do to change how you prepare for these guys? Your thoughts?
No, I mean, I do expect them to do some different things, and that's generally why, look at the Northwestern game this week. Northwestern came out, we struggled the first couple of drives, and that's been kind of a thing with Ohio State this year. Northwestern was coming off a bye; they had a chance to kind of reevaluate their entire offensive philosophy. I'm sure Indiana will do the same thing. That's why, I think the game could be a little close in the beginning, but eventually then you start to wear on them and things go. But I would expect Indiana to have some wrinkles, not a wholesale offensive change, but they'll definitely have some stuff that they've been cooking up in lab because they have that extra week to prepare. I think for Ohio State, we just gotta do a better job of disguising our pressure on defense. And I think if we can do that, then offensively, we get the RPO stuff working. I'm not sure what Indiana's answer is for that, because Indiana doesn't have athletes like we do on either side of the ball. They don't have wide receivers that can really, decimate our defensive backs. And so no, I think you got to be ready for trickeration. You got to be ready for anything, because Indiana is going to pull out every play out of the bottom of the playbook. And we'll try, if you're not ready for a fake punt on 4th and short from wherever on the field, then you're doing yourself a disservice, because Indiana's going to bring it.
Imagine Wagons JVB, thank you for the 5. Is Nate Frazier still on track to transfer to OSU next year? He's been playing a lot for Georgia. Also, do you think the shoe will be rocking next week? Well, Nate Frazier, we got that from a really good source that there's some interest there between him and Ohio State. So we'll see. Again, with the portal stuff and with NIL, stuff is fluid, but I know that our NIL war chest is very, very full right now, which is good. So we're gonna be shopping a little bit, and we're gonna need someone to go with James Peoples, and we've got some kids coming in that are freshmen, but if you can get a known entity, I think that the Quinshon Judkins thing has opened a lot of eyeballs to some of these kids across the country. That you take a kid like Quinshon, who's from Montgomery, Alabama, and he goes to Mississippi, goes to Ole Miss. Like, will he like it in the North? Will he like it at Ohio State? And Quinshon's loved it up here. So again, I think that you get some of these kids from the South to open their eyes to what Ohio State is and how you're going to get utilized in this offense, the kind of numbers you can put up. I think that it just doesn't hurt. But I know that there's a relationship with Nate Frazier and with Carlos Lachlan. So I'm just saying that there's we'll see. Like I said, the portal, it's going to get to the point where we're going to be taking 5 to 15 guys every year from in the portal, guys that can fit, guys that fit the culture. And the thing about now is, in the old days, you'd always project out, okay, we're going to lose this many guys to the draft, we're going to lose this many guys to transfer portal, and you didn't really have a way to backfill it. Now you do. And in the past, I mean, when I said transfer portal, I just meant guys will transfer out and go to smaller schools or whatever. But now, you really have no idea who's going to be on the roster next year, outside of, your guys like Caleb Downs and your Stone Cold guys, your JJ Smith. But again, at this time last year, 2 weeks out from Michigan, none of us thought that we were going to have Caleb Downs on the roster, or Seth McLaughlin, or Will Howard, or Quinshon Judkins, or a bunch of these guys. So it's kind of like Christmas, like where you don't know what you're getting, like under the tree. Like you're a little kid and you never give Santa a list, and all of a sudden Caleb Downs and Quinshon Judkins are under the tree, and you're just like, wow, this is going to be really cool. I like this portal stuff. Seth McLaughlin, even Josh Simmons, who was a first team All-American tackle through the beginning of the year. I mean, he was literally named to the preseason or the halfway, the mid-year All-American team by the Senior Bowl. And again, they had underclassmen on there too. So, but yeah, the portal stuff, it's hard because things can change, guys can leave, guys. But at the time, like that was real. So, but we'll see. Like I said, Ohio State is a very desirable place at this point, and I think that it's going to be very interesting to see who we go after, because again, it is silly season right now, and the tampering is going on. I'm not saying that it's Ohio State's coaches. I'm not saying it's Nate Frazier, but peoples talk to peoples. That's kind of how this stuff works now, and it's never direct. It's never like a coach calls a player that's on another team. That can't happen. You get fired instantly. But you have to remember, these guys all have agents, and the agents all know the collectives, and the agents all have ties to teams where there's agents that have players on Ohio State, but then they also have players on Georgia and Miami and Florida State and Texas and everywhere else. So a lot of these guys are with CAA, or they're with Athletes First, or they're with the major agencies across the country, and there's a lot of intel that gets shared. There's no hiding anymore. So again, it's a very interesting time, and it's a great time to be a member of Buckeye Scoop, because Nevada and I know a lot of people at the top of those places. So it's good to know. Nevada, your thoughts. Is Nate Frazier still on track to transfer to OSU next year? He's been playing a lot for Georgia. Also, do you think the shoe will be rocking next week? I think it has to be rocking next week. I didn't answer that part. I think it'll be exciting, because I think that the fans want to make a difference, and they want to show Indiana who's boss. I think it'll be plenty loud. What are your thoughts, Nevada?
Well, I mean, we never said that he was on track to transfer to Ohio State. What we said was that there was interest, and there was conversation that he's a possibility. I hate to get kind of painted into these corners where Nevada and Kirk, you said Nate Frazier was coming. No, we never said that. What we said was this wasn't just some name that we picked up off the wall. We're like, when this name came on, I didn't even know who Nate Frazier was. I'd never even heard of the
and neither did I. Honestly, like we don't follow, we follow recruiting, but like I don't follow some kid from California that Ohio State, was in on but wasn't really in on. But so when we get this stuff, like, and again, like Nevada said, we never said that this is some sort of a lock. This is something where there's smoke and buzz around it. Go ahead and finish, Nevada.
No, but that was just the point. So I just want to make sure that we're being accurate. I don't mind being held to predictions that we make or things, but we never said he's like on track to. But there is interest. I had never even heard of the guy before we got this information, and we'll see how it ends up now. With Etienne being hurt and he's playing more, who knows what's going to happen? But like you said about Caleb Downs, nobody would have thought you didn't have Caleb Downs to Ohio State on your bingo card last year. So this one, if it pops up, just remember where you heard it. But I just wanted to clarify, this wasn't some call or Nate Frazier's coming to Ohio State next year, because that was not the information that we received at all.
Yeah, it's like I said, the Caleb Downs thing, it was literally, Nick Saban retires, and God, we did like, I think 7 straight podcasts about Caleb Downs in January. And then he finally showed up, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. What a great, we were deep on that one. So when he pulled the trigger, man, it was a glorious day for Buckeye Scoop. Rohan Vangel, I hope you're good, brother. Thanks for the 5. Indy/Big Ten championship is 1 state away, home game away from home. Difference is our traveling fans are louder than students and old folks in Columbus. I agree. Our fans love to go to Indy, and they love to drink Fireball. Like I've gone to Indy once. It's not really my thing. But our fans, it was funny. There was somebody that they told me they stopped at one of the gas stations or a stop where they sold liquor. And they literally said, the clerk said, you guys literally bought every bottle of Fireball that we had, which was I mean, like the whole shelf. It looked like the pandemic, except it was only Fireball. So our fans, they like to go to Indy because it's a 3 hour drive. They can take their RV or they can take their whatever, get liquored up, and they're loud, you know. And again, I love that. Like it's great. And I think Indy is it's a great venue for the Big Ten title. I hope it stays there. Now, again, there's going to be some new contenders. You know, if Chicago gets a dome, Cleveland's getting a dome, which will be cool. Obviously, Detroit has a dome. Eventually, you know, I would think at some point it's in Vegas and it's in LA, just to move it around. But again, I like it in Indy because I think it's a huge advantage for Ohio State. And again, I'm all about whatever gives us the biggest advantage possible. So let's see if the Oregon fans want to gas up the planes and head out like we had to, where our guys can just, you know, get a tank of gas and roll over there and have a good time. And I mean, even you could even drive back after the game if you just want to do a day trip and not even worry about anything hotel wise. So, but I think that they'll be loud, and I think there's going to be a huge. It'll just be like Wrigley, where I mean, you looked at Wrigley and you thought it was an Ohio State home game from atop, where you saw the sea of red and OHIO going before the game, and you know, like I said, our fans are the best because they travel like crazy, and people love to see Ohio State fans coming because when they show up, they love to drink alcohol and they drink tons of booze and they go to the bars and the restaurants and they party all day, and it's great. Like, I love it because our fans, they like to get down, and when they're at those road games, man, they like to get loud and try to get the OHIO going around the stadium. That's always the greatest thing ever, is like when we're like beating Michigan and OHIO is going around the stadium, because it's just like there's no better feeling, because it's like a total, it's like Genghis Khan, like total takeover of your town and city and stadium, and we win, and then we ride off with the horde back to Columbus. So Nevada, your thoughts. Again, Rohan, I appreciate you, my man. Thank you for being on here every night. Thanks for the 5. Indy/Big Ten championship is one state away in Indianapolis, home game away from home. Differences are traveling fans are louder than students and old folks in Columbus. What are your thoughts on that? Because again, I think that's a very interesting thought, because I believe it too, because if our fans are going to gas up the cars and head over there, they're not going over there to sit on their hands and get to Golden Corral by 4 o'clock for the early bird special. What are your thoughts, Nevada?
That's a great point. I mean, the traveling fans are really the crazy of the crazies, and they're the ones that'll stand. They're the ones that'll cheer. And no, and Ohio State fans do show up. And that's why I think a lot of times, I mean, I remember being at the 2002 or 2003, whatever you want to say, national championship game out there in Arizona. And I swear that crowd that night was 85% Ohio State fans. I mean, it was absolutely wild how Ohio State just completely took over, you know, the stadium from Miami. Miami doesn't travel well. They don't have really, you know, good fan base. But no, I think the Big Ten championship game is going to be crazy home field advantage for Ohio State. And as I said, you know, don't have to play in front of a hostile crowd from here on out, and big advantage to Ohio State.
Yeah, I agree. Lisa Shear, thanks for the 10. Oh, this is great. This is a good reminder for us. Nevada, hey, have we've had suspended targeting calls, yet nothing's done against Robert Fitzgerald for twisting JJ's ankles after the play. Same jerk who hurt Jackson Smith-Njigba at Notre Dame game. Is there anything we can do? Ooh, let me see if I can find that real quick, Nevada, because that was terrible. I mean, really, I mean, you want to talk about scumbag? I mean, good God. I mean, JJ's ankle, we're lucky he's fine, but I mean, that was a malicious, terrible move by that guy. Should be suspended. But again, Nevada, I got the little gator roll here on here. Hopefully it'll play the way I need it to. But yeah, this was horrific. It really was. And again, I think that this kid should be suspended. If the Big Ten has a soul, you see JJ right here the he's twisting back. I mean, this is like an MMA move. I mean, he like sinks back into this thing, clearly malicious. Like the play's over, and he grabs his ankle and he torques his back all the way back on it again. And JJ kicks at his head, which he should. Again, that's a prick move. And but what are your thoughts on that, Nevada? Because again, he should be suspended. If the Big Ten, you know, has a brain, he should be suspended for at least a game, if not more.
Well, this is one of those situations. Yeah, I mean, the weight of social media and responses on that stuff, you know, to the Big Ten, tag the Big Ten, and all that stuff. I know there's a bunch of posts out there about it, but liking those posts, commenting those posts, linking those posts, forwarding those to the Big Ten office, that can force them. I mean, the power of public opinion can force them to do something like that. But I totally agree with you. I thought that was look, football's a tough game, a violent game, and stuff happens out there in the field. But that was way beyond the pale. And the fact that the guy, I mean, he did it about 3 or 4 times in the game, let alone the JSN thing at Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that guy is he's a bad kid. And there should be some sort of punishment for doing that stuff. But fans can tag that stuff and forward that stuff to the Big Ten office, and let's see if they respond.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm all for violence in between the whistles, but that's just clear garbage. Like again, football is a very violent physical game. Guys are going to get hurt. But to twist a guy's ankle when he's laying on the ground after he just scorched you for a long gain, like that's insane. And again, it'd be different if Northwestern's coach, and maybe we'll get asked about that in the press conference or whatever. But again, like there's got to be some sort of an answer for that. And I'm not sure if we got asked about it after the game, but I mean, come on, guys. Like that's it's a dangerous enough game as is, but that just means that you don't have any respect for the game or for a fellow competitor in the Big Ten. So I don't know. It's trash. Tony Stott, thanks for the 10. I feel like our safeties in nickel play have been very good. Bill, I feel like our corners have been exposed. They're getting picked on and losing a lot of 50-50 balls. Am I crazy? I mean, our safeties have been as good of a level as I've ever seen with Jordan Hancock at nickel. Caleb and Lathan are both fantastic, and God, I wish we had them for longer. I know that Lathan's gone, but those guys have been really, really good. I don't know if our corners have been exposed, and there's been some good plays made against them, and when you play against good players, like they're going to make good plays. Like, I mean, there's, Darrelle Revis got scorched by Ted Ginn in the NFL a couple times. So even when he was at his absolute peak, the 08-09 era, it's part of playing corner, is that you're going to get beat a little bit because that's just the game, and and the way that the throwing game has been developed across football with the advent of 7-on-7 really taking off. Like, I mean, quarterbacks have never been better than they are right now. They've never been more talented, and same with receivers. So it's a lot harder to play corner now than it was 15 years ago. So I don't know if they've been exposed. I like our guys. I think Denzel and Davison do a good job. Davison obviously is getting killed for being, 9 penalties is unacceptable. Obviously, that's almost a penalty a game. But I think that there's been some times where they've had miscues, and I think that with Denzel, he's overcome that Oregon game because I was worried about him mentally after getting scorched and then beat to death by our fan base, but he's bounced back. Again, he gave us some plays, but that's part of the game. That's like corners. I think the hardest position to play in football, because again, if you have one false step, you can get scorched, and the whole world thinks you're terrible. So, but I think that they're okay. Can they be better? Yes. Do they need to be good against Indiana? Absolutely, because Indiana can throw the ball. So we'll see. This will be a good test for him this week versus the Hoosiers. Nevada, your thoughts. Again, Tony Stott, appreciate you, my man. Thanks for the 10. He says, I feel like our safeties in nickel play have been very good, but I feel like our corners have been exposed. They're getting picked on and losing a lot of 50-50 balls. Am I crazy? What are your thoughts, Nevada?
I don't know if they've been exposed. They've certainly been the benefactor of some really good pitches and catches. I mean, the Oregon game notwithstanding, that was getting burnt. That was just horrible. The Davison thing is just, to me, that's got to be an OG Walt. He's got to, coach that out of him. I know you kind of be physical, but 9 pass interference calls. I mean, that's completely unacceptable. But these guys are talented. They make big plays. Certainly the interception that Davison made, kind of lucky, but he was there in position at the end of the first half against Penn State. Not sure there's been a bigger play defensively all year. That was as big as it comes. But no, I think Denzel's close. I think Denzel's close to being back, recovering from the shell shock, and hopefully they can. Indiana's going to throw out those guys. They're going to challenge them, but I think they'll be up to the task.
Yeah, and that's why OG Walt, they do a lot of drills. They wear oven mitts, where they're not actual oven mitts, but they look like oven mitts because he's trying to get the grabbing out of it. They have officials at practice that call PIs, and they get they track them all. If you get a bunch of PI being obviously pass interferences in practice, then that ain't good because they grade all these practices. So I mean, it's got to be maddening because it's like coaching an offensive lineman that can't figure out to not clamp guys and like there are certain things when you're an offensive lineman that if you do them, you're guaranteed to get called for holding. Outside of obviously just grabbing and hugging a guy, like if you torque a guy to the ground, which used to be like fashionable and a fun way to finish a play, if you do that in a real game, you're going to get a penalty every time. It doesn't matter if you have perfect hand placement, the guy's a dead fish. It doesn't matter. They see that motion and they automatically assume that the only way that you could do that is because you're holding him, not because you're actually stronger than he is. So, but yeah, it's something that NFL teams will notice. And, I'm sure like if I'm Walt, I'm saying, look, Davison, like, you've got all the talent in the world to be a first round corner, but teams are going to be really suspect against you because again, if you take that penalty in the league, that's a spot foul. And again, like a spot foul, that could be a 50-yard penalty. It's one thing to take a PI in college or a holding call where it's a 5-yarder or a 15-yarder. But in the NFL, if you take a PI, it's a 60. It could be a 60. They throw a bomb and you're handsy. It's a 60-yard penalty. I mean, those are the most devastating penalties in football. You literally flip the field on a long ball if you can't control yourself. Nevada, I've never asked you this. Do you think that it should be a spot foul in college?
I don't know. I go back and forth on that. I mean, on one hand, yes, but on the other hand, I really think that pass interference calls in the NFL are overpowered. They're like just throw it up, and if the ref decides to throw a flag, so I think I lean more towards no. Giving less power to referees to me is better than giving more power to referees, and because I would much rather have a game like this weekend where there wasn't a lot of penalties called than one where the guys are over officious. But that's just me.
No, I agree with you because when you have because you have to understand there are some officials that hate Ohio State. Like we used to know the crews that didn't like us, and when we would play, and there was this one old guy, man, and when he was the lead official, I was like, oh god, we're not going to get any calls today, and it's going to be terrible. So like if you give them the ability to weaponize PI and call spot fouls, like those are career enders. There's coaches that get fired if they have too many of those. And, like, again, I kind of like it just being 15 yards because then it's not super overpowered. Because, again, like a 60-yard penalty in college would be devastating the way that we throw the ball, especially the way the officials have been terrible this year. Like, I don't want to give them more of an advantage than they already have. Deion Jackson, thanks for being an ultra member. Thank you for the 10. Hope you're good, my man. What are you and Nevada's score predictions for the Indy game? I'm guessing you don't have yours yet, Nevada. I'll go 35-14. I like that.
Yeah. That I don't have my score prediction yet, but I'm probably leaning toward. I think Indiana's really going to try to take a page out of the Northwestern playbook and try to slow this game down, and take the play clock down to 1 second every time. So I'm thinking more like 27-10 or 27-13.
Yeah, I mean, I think something like that. And again, we might adjust it. So check Buckeye Scoop. We generally Friday we put our scores out on BuckeyeScoop.com. So, but that's kind of how I'm feeling. So I don't think Indiana's seen anything like us. I know they haven't. And I think that our guys are going to be ready to make a statement, and they'll be gassed up. Like I'm not worried about any letdown. And the thing is we've started fast. For the most part, Oregon we started fast when we played these big matchup games. Like our guys have come out and. Guns blazing, and I think that's how we're going to start off in the shoe. And these guys got 2 shots left in the shoe. These seniors will never play in the shoe again in 2 weeks. So don't hold anything back for the next time, because after the Michigan game there is no next time. Jared A. Brandon, thanks for the 20. Thanks for being an ultra member. Appreciate you, brother. Just popped in, so forgive me if it was touched on. What was up with the Oregon game against Wisconsin? Complacency. Wisconsin's defense played amazing. Nevada OH. I just think that I won't say it, but I don't think Oregon's going in the right direction right now. I could be wrong, but I mean I've watched the last few weeks and I'm like, yeah, I can't wait to see these guys in Indy because we're trending correctly and they aren't. And again, Wisconsin's offense was completely terrible, and they lost their starting quarterback versus Alabama months ago. So. But Luke fired his offensive coordinator today. I mean, literally, Phil Longo got whacked after that game because, if they can score, they beat Oregon in Camp Randall. So, again, it's a long season for Oregon, man, because when you're out in that Pacific Northwest, man, you got to fly. When you come east, even if you're coming to just Wisconsin, like those are long trips. And I think that is partially wearing them down. And again, I'm not making any excuses for them, but, when you travel from that corner of the country and you got to come all the way out here to play some teams in the Big Ten, like that's a lot of travel that really sucks. Like Ohio State only had to go west for one game. These guys have to come east for a lot of games. So I think they're trending in the wrong direction, and I can't wait to see these guys again. Nevada, your thoughts? Jared, again, I appreciate you, my man. Thank you for the 20. Thanks for being an Ultra member. He says, he just popped in, so forgive me if this was touched on, but what was up with Oregon against Wisconsin? What are your thoughts, Nevada? Because, again, that was much tighter than anybody expected. And I think Luke's trying to get his team going if he can get some offense. But what are your thoughts?
Night game on the road at the Big Tens are hard. They're just hard. And, I think anybody that, has seen enough football just knows that sometimes the team gets it going, they hang in there early, and things just start to happen. So I'm not taking it more of a slam at Oregon in terms of the direction of their thing. I just think that winning on the road in the Big Ten is hard. Winning the road in the Big Ten at night is really hard. Winning the road at Big Ten at night at places like Penn State, Wisconsin is really, really hard. And so I just think it was one of those games.
I agree. All right. Mikey Antonio, thanks for being Ultra member. Thank you for the 5. It says, sup, Kirk and Nevadabuck. Question for Nevada. Kirk says Tatum was not the best safety in OSU history. I often agree with Kirk. Not this time. What say you? Now, Jack Tatum played a lot of corner at Ohio State. So, again, I don't.
Now, hold on. Now, Kirk is the same guy that slandered Orlando Pace back in the day.
Yes.
So
you slandered Will Howard and Chip Kelly. So let's talk that talk. You told me Trey Henderson was soft and he had no vision, like a blind man. You were Mr. Mayan Williams back then. I remember it all.
I don't agree with Kirk that Jack Tatum was not good. I think Jack Tatum was a great safety at Ohio State. So I do not agree with Kirk that Jack Tatum was a terrible player and could not play in the modern game. Jack Tatum was a scary man. Jack Tatum was my favorite player at Ohio State growing up, and he was my favorite player in the pros because he would just kill people. And I just thought that was like. The hits that he made were just absolutely terrifying, and obviously they've legislated all that stuff out of the game. But back then, he was fun to watch. So no, I do not agree with Kirk that Jack Tatum was not a good player.
Yeah, but do you think he was the best safety in Ohio State history, even though he played corner at Ohio State?
I do think he was the best safety in Ohio State history, just because I think he changed the game. I think he literally changed the way the game was played, and as good as Caleb Downs, and Caleb Downs is great, unbelievable tackler, but Jack was terrifying. Jack literally scared the bejeebies out of the other teams, and I know different time, I know different thing, but I'm riding with Tatum on this one.
As the best safety in Ohio State history?
That's the best, most impactful. I'm going to go Jack Tatum, final answer.
But he played corner.
He played safety. He played mainly safety.
Okay. I know that he played some corner because he literally he would shadow the number 1 receiver. Like that was his thing. He played linebacker. They put him in the box. Like he did all kinds of stuff when he was there. So that was my thing. But do you think he's better than Caleb Downs will end up being? Now you got to remember, Jack Tatum's career is. And God rest Jack Tatum's soul. He was my favorite. He used to come speak to the team, Michigan Week. He was the best. I love Jack Tatum. So God rest his soul. But Caleb Downs is still going though.
No, and again, we're comparing athletes from 50, 60 years apart or whatever it is. But in his time, Jack Tatum was absolutely terrifying on the college football field, and then went to the NFL and was absolutely terrifying on the NFL field. And I'm yet to see Caleb raise it to that level of where he's just, and I'm not saying he's going to be hitting people out, but does he make 2 interceptions? I don't know. This is all hyperbole and opinion. But for me, I literally think Jack changed the way people played against us because he was so scary. And I think that it's rare that you see I can't remember another player quite like Jack Tatum ever. Jack was just a difference maker.
Yeah, he was. I was surprised he only went to 3 Pro Bowls. Surprising. Jack's in the College Football Hall of Fame, so that's kind of the benchmark. Do we think Caleb Downs will be in the College Football Hall of Fame. I don't know. He's got to make the All-American team at least probably twice to at least get consideration for it. James Laurinaitis is not in the College Football Hall of Fame. He was a 3-time All-American. So that's kind of the benchmark. And then you usually have to have a great NFL career. So again, is Caleb on track?
Is Jack Tatum in Canton? He's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, right?
No.
He's not in the Pro Football Hall of Fame? Really?
Well, I mean, he only made 3 Pro Bowls.
Interesting.
So, and again, like I'm not saying he's not great, but like in general, like you have to make 6 or 7 Pro Bowls usually to make the whole thing, unless you're like Terrell Davis and you are an MVP multiple times and you blow your knee out, and they'll make an exception if you're just rare or Kurt Warner, those types of guys. But normally you have to get about 6 or 7 Pro Bowls, just because I think Olin Kreutz should be in the Hall of Fame and he's got 6, but he's been on hold for a couple of years. Like he's been on the ballot, I think 3 or 4 times. He's been a semifinalist a couple times, so he's close, but that's kind of the general rule of thumb. But yeah, I mean, the reason I said he's best safety is, I mean, if you're talking true safety, because Tatum did play a lot of corner at Ohio State, but like a true safety, I don't know. I mean, Mike Doss is a 3-time All-American, so he's got to be in the conversation. I just look at, Dick LeBeau's in Canton. I mean, I don't know where Dick LeBeau is in the vernacular, but I mean, LeBeau was really good when he was here. He's really good in the NFL. Obviously one of the greatest coaches who's ever lived for the defensive side of the ball. So I don't know. It's if you can be in every Hall of Fame, college football, pro, that's Orlando Pace is one of those, Dick LeBeau is one of those. Then those are guys that I think you have to consider for that. But again, his stuff hasn't been done yet. All right. Poohbeard 12. Thank you for the deuce. Heck with cooking, Scoop. Hear me out. Scoop eats. Nevada. Scoop eats. Your thoughts?
I really think that's got a lot of potential. I'm gonna Google Scoop Eats and look at them on YouTube and see if there's anything I can get for inspiration on that. But when I think of Scoop Eats, I think of big fat guys at some hotel buffet sitting there sweating all over each other and doing stuff like that. And so I'm not sure that's quite where we want to go with it, but I appreciate the creative input.
I love it. Ian Bates, thanks for the deuce. This is interesting. Nevada: Barrett, Haskins, Justin Fields, CJ Stroud. I'm taking Will Howard. I think we got to wait for the season to finish up. And again, I think that something that honestly will penalize Will Howard is the fact that he's only going to be here for 1 year, which is a travesty, but it's kind of is what it is, where, Haskins started for that 1 year, but he didn't run much. JT obviously started for 4 years, was fantastic. CJ started for 2 years, was fantastic. And Justin started for 2 years and was fantastic. So Will having that 1 year. Now, if he wins the big ring, it's done. I don't think there's any question. Again, I think that if he puts up the numbers he needs to put up, which he is, and then he wins the big ring, I think it's a cinch. But we got to see how these next 3 weeks go and then the playoffs go. But I mean, he's as good as any of those guys. I don't care what the NFL says. I don't care what, I mean, Dwayne Haskins went in the first round, but he was, great kid, untimely death. But I mean, he didn't, Washington cut him after 1 year, that's impossible to do when you're a first round pick in the NFL as a quarterback. To get given up on that quick is almost unheard of. Justin, the Bears made an idiotic decision to get rid of him, to switch for Caleb Williams. And again, it's screwed that whole locker room up because Caleb Williams is a turd. And DJ Moore was a Pro Bowler last year, and this year he's completely null and void. What are your thoughts about it? Again, this is tough because JT, obviously he won 3 silver footballs and offensive player of the year in the Big Ten and broke every record basically, and was an insane leader, kind of like how Will is. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I'd have Justin Fields at the top of that list. I think Justin was the right mix of running, dynamic running ability. Obviously, he rushed for 1,000 yards in the NFL, and passing ability as well. So I'd have Justin at the top, but Will's just a notch below that. But I am over CJ Stroud. I think that in today's college football, if you're not a running quarterback, you can't be considered for the top thing because the game has completely changed, and the running quarterback is overpowered. And if you're not running, then you're really doing a disservice to your team.
Well, I think it makes you one dimensional, and when you run into bad weather and you can't run your quarterback, it really kills you. I think that's something that Will adds Like I said, we'll see. I mean, this is a big 3-week stretch. I mean, if Will clean sweeps these next 3 weeks, which he easily could, then again, I don't know how if he beats Dylan Gabriel in the Big Ten title game, he doesn't win the Heisman. But again, that's just my thoughts. I mean, I know that I'm sure Ashton G&T from Boise State's great, and Travis Hunter is awesome and stuff. But you're Ohio State and you're running it like you are here. It's hard to pass on the quarterback, but nobody seems to recognize how good this guy is except for us. So it's interesting. All right, Nevada, nice long show tonight. I think we can wrap this thing up. Any final thoughts?
No, just huge week, huge week. Indiana coming to town. I'm so excited. This is going to be a fun one. This is one of those games that you hope that you got a top 5 opponent coming into the horseshoe with everything on the line. It's why we're big college football fans. It's why we're Ohio State fans. And I wish I was going to be at the game, but I'm going to be at the game the following week. So I need Ohio State to win this game so that the Michigan game continues to have, not that it won't always be important, but, it would certainly take a little bit of the shine off of it if somehow we spit the bit against Indiana. So we got to win. So Nevadabuck's pushing all the chips in. Got to win. Got to beat the Hoosiers on Saturday.
I love it. All right, let's go. Appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. Again, another great show. If you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also, click that little alert bell. Again, we appreciate you guys being on here. If you do something fantastic, give us a follow on Apple Podcasts, also on Spotify. Completely free. It takes about 30 seconds to do. Is a great thing for you to do to help us out. We're trying to grow that. It's slowly growing. We can notice it. So thank you guys that actually did that for us. If you haven't, it's super easy, super quick, and it's a great way to say thank you for doing the show. Because again, we love doing it. We love interacting with you guys. The chat's always on fire. Thank you to all of our moderators and all of our regulars. Thank you guys for all that you guys do. With that being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow at 7 o'clock. We'll be ready to roll to lead you guys into Monday Night Football. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Go Bucks.